In this podcast, you'll learn 8 more colloquial expressions so that you can speak English in a more natural, colloquial way. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hello, and if you're a new listener to the podcast, you're very welcome. My name's Craig.
And my name is Reza.
And with nearly 50 years of teaching English between us, Reza and I will help you improve your English and take it to the next level. How are you, Reza?
I'm feeling fine, Craig. Despite the heat in my flat here in Valencia, between the blasts of air conditioning, I'm doing okay. Let me explain what happens here. Air conditioning is fairly silent, but it's not completely silent. So we put on the air conditioner until we have to record. And then we turn it off because we're perfectionists. We want only the best quality audio for our listeners. So we turn off the air conditioning that half an hour or so while we're recording. And it seems to work, doesn't it? Are you comfortable enough?
It does, yes, but probably in about 10 minutes we'll be suffering and sweating for your listening pleasure. So welcome to the podcast. Before we start with some voice messages and feedback from our lovely listeners, a quick shout out, that means a quick hello, to Pablo, who tweeted on Twitter and said, I've just received an email saying I've passed the advanced exam with an A grade. He says Reza and Craig with their podcast had a lot to do with it. Pablo, thank you very, very much for letting us know. We love to celebrate your successes, and that kind of news always puts petrol in our tank. So congratulations, Pablo. Thanks very much. If you want to contact Pablo, he is at ROURA Pablo on Twitter. Rora Pablo. So thank you very much.
Well done, Pablo. And to get an A, that puts you in a very small percentage of people. In fact, if that was the Cambridge exam, you would have passed C2.
That's
if you
correct.
Get an A.
Yeah.
Well done.
Got a C2 grade there, Pablo. Congratulations. Next, we have a voice message from Paula from Colombia, who has contacted us before. Some of you may remember Paula. And she recently came over here to Spain to visit her family in Cádiz.
Hi Reza, hi Craig. This is Paola from Colombia. I want to share with you my last trip to Spain. It was something unexpected and something that I thank the most because I haven't seen my brother and my nieces for more than 2 years due to all the restrictions in this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Spain government decided to allow vaccinated people to visit Spain for tourism. I decided to buy a ticket immediately, and we were able to share 2 amazing and lovely weeks in Cádiz. I get along with them, and I really enjoy hanging out with my nieces, playing, practicing Spanish and German, and also going to the beach. The weather was amazing, the food was delicious, and also I could visit a friend. She lives in San Fernando near Cádiz, and she's a runner like me, and we could work out together. Those lovely weeks gave me the most beautiful energy and hope because, as you know, here in Colombia we are facing very difficult moments, not only because of the pandemic, but also for the social problems that we have in this moment. Thanks for listening.
Well, Paula, thanks very much. Your message was very, very clear. Your pronunciation was lovely. Although the background noise made it a bit tricky, do you happen to be riding a motorbike? There seems to be the sound of a motor in the engine. Either that or a lawnmower. Were you cutting the grass? There's a very loud engine noise in the background. But your pronunciation was extremely good. Well done.
And maybe Paula was running next to a highway or something because she is a marathon runner. By the way, she has a lovely podcast called Al Ritmo de Mujer. So if you are into running, if you like running and triathlons, be sure to check out Paola's podcast.
By the way, Paola, I envy you. Although I've lived in Spain for many years, I've never been to Cadiz, or Cadiz, as you say.
Me neither.
And I'd love to go. And you've come all the way from Colombia and you've been there. I envy you. I've lived in Spain for many years, so I'm familiar with many accents. It doesn't make it any easier to understand the Cadiz accent, though. Even though I've been here 20 years, when I come across a Gaditano, very difficult. Lovely accent, but difficult. A Colombian accent is much, much, much easier for me to understand than people from Cadiz. How did you find it? Was it tricky to understand them? I'd be interested to know.
And we're really happy that you got the chance to come over to Spain and see how your nieces have grown up. And 2 years is a long time when there's young children in the family. So we're really happy you had a good time. And Colombia is a country I'd love to visit someday. Maybe not now is the best time to come over, but hopefully in a few years when the pandemic has calmed down a bit and traveling's a bit more easy, a bit easier and more sensible, I'll be over and hopefully get to see you, Paola.
Craig, is there anything we could help Paola with in her message?
Not too much, because one of the things I loved about Paola's message was the way she used quite naturally some phrasal verbs. She said that she gets along with, to have a good relationship with her friends and family, and that she hangs out. She was hanging out, which means to spend time with in a relaxing way. And at the end of her message, to work out. She was working out with her friend and doing some running. So she used some lovely phrasal verbs. Although there was one small thing I heard at the beginning, Paola. You said Spain government, but you need the adjective. So it's the Spanish government. And we do need the article the, because there's only one. So we need the definite article. The Spanish government decided to allow would be the correct sentence. Did you hear any other things, Reza?
One little thing. I think you said, I decided to bought a ticket. I think I heard the word bought, but of course, decided to plus infinitive. So you should have said, I decided to buy a ticket. But apart from that, I didn't hear anything else, and I thought it was a marvelous message.
Yeah, thanks for getting in touch, Paola. And I do apologize for the delay in posting this on the podcast. Your message got lost in my inbox, so apologies for that. Next, we have a voice message all the way from Ethiopia, from Hamza Haji.
Hello, Craig. Thank you for your podcast. I have been listening to your podcast for 1 week. I have listened to many podcasts on your website. I think I am improving my English skills with your podcasts. So thank you for starting the podcast for us and improving our English skills. I have one question for you. How can I improve my speaking skills? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Hamza, for your message. And you've no idea how delighted we are to receive this voice message, because you are definitely the first person from Ethiopia that has got in touch with us. I hope you won't be the last. So that has really made our day. We're really, really happy to get this message, and thank you for it. It was a really clear message, and I'm thrilled to hear from Ethiopia. I've never been to Ethiopia myself, but I'd love to go. But Craig, I believe you have been to Ethiopia, haven't you?
I have, and that's why I was so happy to hear from you, Hamza, because I was lucky enough to visit your country in August before the pandemic. And I had a lovely trip around your country with a group of Spanish people. We toured your country, and I was really impressed by the history, the culture, the food, the friendliness of everybody I met. It really is an amazing country, and it hurts my heart when I watch the news about the problems that are in the north of the country in Eritrea. So I really feel for you, and I hope you and your family are doing okay. And thank you for letting us know that you're listening over there in Ethiopia. one or two small things I think we can help Hamza with, Reza, with pronunciation, right?
Yes, generally your pronunciation was very good, although there was a couple of repeated things we could pick up on. One word that I noticed was listened. The T in the middle is definitely silent, so don't pronounce that T. Yeah, you were saying like list, you were putting a T sound in. So we write the T, but we don't pronounce it. So it should be listened.
Listened. And another pronunciation improvement you can make is with the word podcast. It has two syllables. The first word is pod, P-O-D, pod, and the second syllable cast, C-A-S-T, and we put emphasis on the first syllable. Listen, podcast. So say it with me, podcast. And if you want to make that word plural, you just add an S, but you still keep two syllables. Podcasts. I listened to your podcasts.
It's difficult, I know, particularly when you have an ST at the end of a word. To add another S is difficult. So get the singular word out first. This is my advice. Say podcast, then add this. Think of it like that. So if you slow it down, 2 podcasts, and then speed it up, podcasts. So you've got to get the singular out first and then add the extra S to the plural.
You asked about speaking fluency practice activities. We did give some advice on a previous podcast back in episode 362, in which we gave some tips and advice and some activities that you could practice with a friend or a family member or somebody online. So to listen to that, Hamza, go to inglespodcast.com/362.
So, we're going to get started in a minute with our 8 common colloquial expressions. Those of you who have listened to the podcast before probably know that this is not the first episode about colloquial expressions. This is the 5th one, and we hope to do some more. So if you look at the show notes, you will see links to the other 4 parts of 8 common colloquial expressions. Here we go. We're going to get started with colloquial expressions, part 5.
Do you think, Reza, these episodes are helping students with their colloquial English? I think they are.
You can say that again.
I think they are. You just asked me to say that again, right?
Ah, right. No.
Do you want me to say it again?
It's true. It sounds like I invited Craig to say that again, but this is our first colloquial expression. So, although I did say you can say that again, and Craig said it again. I didn't really expect him to say it again. And in real life, he wouldn't have said it again. It's a colloquial expression, which means, yep, I really agree with you. I emphatically agree with you. Yeah, so I like so much what you've said. I agree with it so much that, yeah, I think we should say it again. I could also say, you said it, which sounds strange as well, doesn't it? You know, like, do you think this podcast is helping people? You said it. It's like, yeah, I know I said it. No, it's not that. It just means, yeah, I agree with you. So you can say that again, or you said it, mean the same thing, to express emphatic agreement.
And you said it sounds like 2 words, but it's actually 3. You said it. What happens is the d at the end of said connects to the I, the vowel sound at the beginning of it. So instead of saying said it, we say said it. And that's quite difficult to hear when it's spoken quickly. You said it. Yeah, you said it. Means I agree totally.
Boy, Craig, it's hot today, isn't it?
You can say that again.
Craig, shall we take a coffee break?
Oh, you said it, man.
Craig likes his coffee.
You know, Reza, next year I think things will be better. We'll be able to travel again. Maybe we can go and visit Paula in Colombia.
You can say that again. Count me in for sure.
Number 2 we have for you today, our second colloquial expression is, no, I I thought about it a second ago. What was it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Can you see it, Reza? It's here. Can you see it on the tip of my tongue?
I can't actually see it. No.
Well, I don't mean physically on the tip of my tongue. There isn't a post-it note there. What I'm saying is I almost remember it, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. You can say, for example, someone's name is on the tip of your tongue. Oh, what's his name? Or what's her name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Reza, who was that actress in Titanic who starred with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember her name? She's a British actress.
What's her name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue as well. Is it
Catherine something? Kate? Is that it?
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet.
Yep.
You see, it was on the tip of our tongue, and eventually we remembered it. Craig, would you ever say something which is similar to that? Something like, imagine you'd ask me, what was the name of that actress? And I said to you, oh, what do you call her? It sounds like I'm asking you a question, but you just asked me, what do you call her? And I'm saying to you, oh yeah, what do you call her? I'm not really asking you a question, am I?
No, and it's also said in a chunk, isn't it? What do you call her? What do you call her? What do you call him? What do you call her? What's his name?
For example, I saw, what do you call her? Bob's sister in the supermarket this morning. I can't remember her name. So I said, what do you call her? Yeah, it's similar to, it's on the tip of my tongue. What do you call her?
And not only for people, you can also use this expression for things if you can't remember the name of something. For example, yesterday I bought one of those, I bought one of those, what do you call it, for making juice. I can't remember. It's on the tip of my tongue. So what do you call it? What do you call it? What do you call it? Is when you're trying to think of the name, you're really filling silence with one of these expressions. Oh, what do you call it? What's its name?
Now, sticking with tongues, a different expression.
Sticking with tongues.
We're not sticking our tongues together. Oh, don't get any ideas about that. We're not sticking our tongues together. We're not in the middle of a kiss. It's not that.
I bet you never ever thought that you would ever say that sentence. Although sticking with tongues.
You can stick your tongue down someone's throat.
And you can stick your tongue out, as little girls and boys sometimes do, to be rude, to stick out your tongue.
But we're very polite, and we're mature, very mature adults, as you know. So we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about the expression to bite your tongue,
which is more aggressive. To bite your tongue with your teeth.
Sounds painful, doesn't it? But when you use it idiomatically, that means the words don't have their normal meaning. So I'm not really going to bite my tongue. It just means I'm going to stop myself from saying something that I'd really like to say, but I'm not going to say it. For example, imagine I see Craig eating his 10th chocolate biscuit.
Not unusual.
Not unusual, yeah. But I'm a bit worried about his health. And I'm thinking of saying, should he really eat 10 biscuits in 2 minutes? I want to say something, but no, I don't want to spoil his enjoyment, so I'll bite my tongue. I won't say anything.
Yeah, I feel that way about my sister because she's a heavy smoker. If someone is a heavy smoker, that doesn't mean they're fat. It means that they smoke a lot. So she's a heavy smoker. And I used to smoke, so I understand what it's like when people tell you it's bad for you, you shouldn't smoke. It's not a nice thing to hear. So I have to bite my tongue and not tell her to cut down on her smoking or reduce the amount she's smoking. So I bite my tongue and I say nothing. It's her decision.
I'm sure something that a lot of married men or women, probably even more married women than men, have thought or said is that they wanted to tell their mother-in-law exactly what they thought of them. But no, best to bite your tongue. You know, I wanted to tell my mother-in-law exactly what I thought of her, but I had to bite my tongue. Not a good idea, because if you irritate the mother-in-law, that's going to be a big trouble. Don't say anything, just bite your tongue.
Another expression you could use, which has a very similar meaning, is to hold your tongue. To hold your tongue. Again, as Reza said, it's idiomatic. You're not physically holding your tongue in your fingers, your hands. You are keeping your tongue in your mouth and not speaking, making the decision not to speak. So apart from bite your tongue, you can hold your tongue and you can keep your mouth shut, which means you stop yourself saying something that you would really like to say.
Here's an example. Imagine I'm talking to another friend and a third friend, Tony, arrives and I say to Peter, hey, here comes Tony, but hold your tongue for now. We'll tell him tomorrow. So we got some news that we think we should tell Tony, but not now. It's too soon. Now is not a good time. So I say, hold your tongue. Hold your tongue.
Another example, I wanted to tell my friend that she'd got the job, she'd passed the interview, but I couldn't tell her. I had to keep my mouth shut until the official announcement. And this happens very often when you work for a big company. If you work for a company like Apple, for example, if there's a new product, a new software, you have to keep your mouth shut. You can't say what's coming because it's a secret, a company secret.
Now, Craig, most people sleep on a bed or something similar. But if I said to you, Craig, what you said the other day was very interesting. Let me sleep on it. What am I going to sleep on? Not a bed?
No, you're going to sleep on making a decision because probably I asked you or suggested something to you that was quite important, that needed some thought. And it's always a good idea, I think, if something is important to you, not to decide immediately. So you wait, you give the person an answer the following day, and you say, I'm going to sleep on it. Or let me sleep on it, I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll make a decision tomorrow. That gives you time to think and make a good, logical decision. Have you slept on anything recently that needed a lot of thought before you decided what to do?
Not recently, but in the past, whenever I was thinking of going to live in Valencia, I didn't want to make a quick decision, so I slept on it. I didn't decide immediately. I had a good night's sleep, and the next day I slowly came to a decision.
Isn't there a similar expression in Spanish where you speak to your pillow?
Ah, is that what they say?
I think consultar con la almohada, I think, is a similar expression, to sleep on it. And speaking of sleeping and closing your eyes, siesta is a word that's commonly used in English among native English speakers, but we also have some other expressions that pretty much mean a siesta. It just means a very short sleep. And one of these expressions is to grab 40 winks. Now, if you wink, you close one of your eyes, and it doesn't matter which eye you close, but you quickly close your eye and you open it again, and that's a wink. You can wink at somebody, which is a casual expression. So if you have 40 of these winks, that's a synonym for a short sleep. And to grab means to take quickly. So if you say, I'm going to grab 40 winks, that means you're going to have a short sleep.
Now, there's another word which I'm sure many of you have seen written, but you possibly have never heard it spoken. And that is the word snooze. And I say that you've seen it written like on an alarm clock or another electronic device. It quite often has a snooze function. SNOOZE. That means that the device will go to sleep for a little while. So your alarm clock wakes you up in the morning. Yeah, you hear the sound, beep, 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 etc. You can either...
The worst sound in the world.
Yes, who likes that sound? So there's two ways really of dealing with... I guess there's three ways. You could do nothing, but that would be really irritating. So the other two ways of dealing with that sound are hit off and the sound will stop forever. Or if you're like me, particularly if it's at the weekend, you'll probably hit snooze.
You don't set your alarm at the weekends, do you? Or you forget to turn it off.
Yeah, that's probably it. It's probably from the day before. But I should really get up, but I don't want to. So I'll hit snooze. So if you like, I can go back to sleep again for 5-10 minutes. It depends how your device is configured. So the snooze device lets you or the device go back to sleep again. So a snooze is a short sleep. So you can have a snooze, which means the same as to grab 40 winks.
So we have grab 40 winks, have a snooze, and one more, to get some kip. To get some kip. That's K-I-P, a very informal colloquial word for sleep. So here we are with colloquial expressions. Get some kip is very colloquial, and I'm guessing not very common in the US, probably more used in British English. So if you hear someone say, oh, I'm going to get some kip for 20 minutes, that means they're going to have a short sleep.
And the last one we've got, which is to do with siestas, as you would say in Spanish, is to take a nap or have a nap. Now, if you come from the Valencia area, un nap is a turnip.
That's
un nabo.
true. Yeah.
Nothing to do with that, I'm afraid, in English. To have a nap or to take a nap is the same as to have a snooze, to grab 40 winks, or to get some kip. In other words, una siestita.
And Reza, do you often have a nap after lunch?
In the winter, no, but in the summer, if I'm in Spain, particularly the hotter parts of Spain, yeah, there's not much else you can do because you don't really want to go out into the baking sun, and eating tends to make you feel a bit sleepy afterwards. So yeah, I often would have a snooze after lunch. And you?
Religiously, yeah. I work at home a lot, so it's very nice. It's a pleasure, one of those small pleasures in life for me to have my lunch, have a break from work, have a 20-minute nap, no longer, and then get back to work. I won't be having my nap today because I'm here with you and after we're going for lunch, but I'm more than happy to not have my nap. Maybe I'll have 2 tomorrow.
I'll tell you something that really surprised me, which I found out about for the first time about 10 or 12 years ago, but 10 years ago, that apart from the Spanish and a few other Mediterranean nationalities who like having a siesta, a nap, that is the tradition. Although not everybody does, it's true, but it's not uncommon. Well, 10 or 11 years ago, I discovered that the Chinese love a good snooze. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
The Chinese love their naps. It's ingrained in Chinese culture. It's not a new thing. It's not a modern thing at all. They're not copying the Spanish. For centuries, those who can afford the luxury often do have a little nap after their meal in China. Curious, it's not a stereotype you associate with China, but believe me, it's very common.
It's very healthy too.
Yeah.
So those expressions were connected with having a short nap or kip during the day. But of course, at the end of the day, we go to bed. If you're a Spanish speaker, ir a la cama. And there are some expressions we can use that maybe you haven't heard before. Yeah, you can say, okay, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. But what other expressions can we use, Reza, to say the same thing?
Well, one which probably should be very obvious to you is to get your head down. Or sometimes we say to put your head down. Yeah, for example, I'm really tired, it's late at night, I'm going to get my head down. I'm going to put my head down. In other words, I'm going to go to bed.
Or you could say, I'm going to turn in. Turn, T-U-R-N, in. So there's a phrasal verb, to turn in, which means to go to bed. So it's 12 o'clock or 11:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever you go to bed, you can say, okay, it's time for me to turn in. I'm going to turn in now.
Another one which is even more colloquial, even more colourful, is to hit the sack. Now, hit can mean to use your hand or your arm and to strike something, physically touch it with force. But it doesn't mean that here. And a sack, a bag, a big bag, a sack. Well, think of like a sleeping bag or a sleeping sack, people used to say centuries ago.
Probably people slept on sacks years ago.
Exactly. Yep. They would have slept on or in sacks. Yeah, that's all they had. So to hit the sack is the idea of your body, your whole body, collapsing onto or falling onto this sack, which was where you had to sleep. So if you say you're going to hit the sack, it means you're going to bed.
Do you know, Reza, that we're not going to get a rise in salary this year? We're not going to get a raise. Have you heard that?
So, what else is new, Craig?
What else is new? Well, nothing else is new. That's the new thing I'm telling you. What do you mean, what else is new? You want me to tell you something else that's new?
No. I was just using there the colloquial expression. It isn't really a question, although it sounds like a question. So, what else is new? No. You wouldn't use the intonation of a question. You would say, so, what else is new? You would use the intonation of, I'm not surprised to hear that bad news. It's a negative kind of outlook that you're expressing.
And the intonation thing's quite important, isn't it? Because if you're greeting someone and you say hello, you might say, hey, what's new? And the intonation goes up because that is a question. But with sarcasm, as Reza just used it, then the intonation will go down. So, oh, what's new? Almost with disappointment.
Hey, Craig, have you heard government ministers have been accused of accepting bribes?
Yeah, what else is new?
Bribes is money that you accept illegally to help people. Yeah, what else is new if it's politicians in government?
Hey, Reza, do you know Paddy and Susan have had another argument?
Paddy and Susan, so what's new?
Yeah, they're always arguing, aren't they? Our next expression is swings and roundabouts. Now, swings and roundabouts you would probably find in a park where children play. A swing is a seat that you sit on and it goes backwards and forwards. And a roundabout, from its name, goes round and round and round, and children jump on and it goes around. So there's an expression using swings and roundabouts that means it doesn't really matter. It's all the same. And what you lose on the swings, you gain on the roundabouts. What you lose on the swings, you gain on the roundabouts. Imagine you're trying to get from one side of your city to the other. Now you can go through the city, which is shorter, or you can go around the city, which is longer, more kilometres, but less traffic. So if you don't know what's quicker, you could say, well, what you lose on the swings, you gain on the roundabouts. Or it's swings and roundabouts. There's more traffic in the centre, it will take longer, but if you go around, there are more kilometres. So swings and roundabouts, really. Can you think of another similar expression for that, Reza?
There's an expression which I really like, which is 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. And you don't have to be very good at maths to know that 6 of something is half a dozen. So 6 of one thing, and half a dozen of another thing, they're both 6. They're both half a dozen.
Because a dozen is 12.
Right. What's half of 12? 6.
So if I say to you that, Reza, you could never pay to park your car because parking's expensive in Valencia, so you could park illegally, but eventually you'll probably get a parking fine. So you're going to pay money at some point. It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. You can pay to park every day, or you can wait and get a parking ticket.
Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And our final expression, which is quite suitable, I think, is at the end of the day. At the end of the day. And we use this before we say the most important thing. Let me give you an example. Of course, Reza, I'll listen to your opinion, but at the end of the day, it's my decision. So yes, I'll listen to you, but I also need to decide for myself. It's my decision at the end of the day.
Or here's another one. At the end of the day, it's up to the government to decide.
Another expression which you could use in a similar way is when the day's done. When the day's done. Or all said and done. All said and done. Let me give you an example. Your reasons are very valid, but all said and done, I just can't accept your request. You could substitute any of those 3 expressions and they more or less mean the same. Your reasons are very valid, At the end of the day, I just can't accept your request. Or, your reasons are very valid. When the day's done, I just can't accept your request. Or, your reasons are very valid. All said and done, I just can't accept your request. That's the 8 expressions we have for you. Before we leave you and go out the door, we'll just quickly remind you of those 8 expressions. Reza, what was the first one?
The first expression was, you can say that again, or you said it, used to express emphatic agreement.
And if you can't quite remember something, you say, "Ooh, it's on the tip of my tongue."
Speaking of tongues, the third expression was to bite your tongue, or hold your tongue, or to keep your mouth shut. So that's when you have to stop yourself from saying something that you'd really like to say, but you'd better not say it. You should bite your tongue.
For important decisions in life, don't rush to make a decision. Just tell the person you'll sleep on it and give an answer tomorrow.
Then we had some expressions to do with sleep. If you're talking about having a siesta, and we do accept the word siesta in modern English, but we have our own Anglo-Saxon expressions as well. You can say to grab 40 winks, to have a snooze, to get some kip, or to take or have a nap.
When you're finally going to bed at the end of the day, you put your head down or get your head down, you turn in for the day, or you hit the sack.
The next expression was, so, what else is new? Or simply, what's new? But it's not a question. It's used sarcastically whenever you're saying that, yeah, this doesn't surprise me. It's what happens all the time.
When it doesn't really matter what you do because the result will probably be the same, you could say, well, it's swings and roundabouts. Or it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
And our final expression for today was, at the end of the day, or you could also say when the day's done or all said and done. So you use this when you're going to express your final and most important decision.
And now it's your turn to practice your English. We would love to hear from you, so please send us a message, tell us your name, where you're from, and maybe an idea for a future episode. And also let us know if you like these common colloquial expressions and do you find them useful. You can reach us on SpeakPipe to leave your voice message. Go to speakpipe, speakpipe.com/inglespodcast. All the links, as usual, in the notes, the show notes at inglespodcast.com/381. Reza, what about emails?
You could write to Craig at inglespodcast.com or send me an email. That's belfastreza@gmail.com.
We also remind you that there are courses for sale and other material for sale in the Mention Inglés online store. Go to store.mencioningles.net.
As ever, we'd like to thank all our Patreon sponsors. Those are the people who help us by donating as little as $1.20 per month. The 20 cents is to cover the value-added tax, the VAT. And as a thank you to those people, we give them the most recent audio transcriptions of the podcast. We haven't got time to mention everybody who does that, but we like to mention the most recent sponsors who've joined the scheme. Who are they, Craig?
They are José Enrique Roman, Erasmo Melo, and Hugo Daniel Razarin. And if you'd like to join those lovely people and all of our sponsors, you don't have to decide today. You can sleep on it and decide tomorrow. What's next week, Reza?
On next week's episode, some common uses of out. O-U-T, out.
Looking forward to that episode next week. Thank you very much for your time this week and your company. Until next time, Reza and I are going to grab 40 winks and have a snooze, so we'll see you next time. Goodbye from me.
And bye-bye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.